Hey guys, I just got finished watching WWE Wrestlemania 38 night 1, and I just thought I'd do a quick video to, tell you what I thought about the show, because, WrestleMania is pretty much like the biggest wrestling event of the year. I don't know if you know this or not, but it's a pretty big deal. So, first of all, the fact that they split the show up over 2 nights, I think just, proves how big of a deal how big of a deal it is, because, the it's a pretty big deal, and it's such a big deal that it's too big of a deal for one night. So overall, I thought the show was pretty good. There were a lot of good matches on the card. I thought the stage was pretty good. The production values and the wrestling and all the storylines coming into the event. They were all pretty good. So uh, the first match of the night was the Usos versus Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs. And, I thought that match was pretty good. Pretty much whenever I see the Usos, I pretty much know that it's going to be a good match because the Usos are pretty much one of the best tag teams out there. So, overall, that match was pretty good. You know, in the end, the Usos won. It looks like Rick Boggs may have messed up this, sort of double Samoan drop that he was going for with the Usos. So I think it might have been a little too much weight for him, which is kind of unfortunate. But, overall, it was a pretty good match. The next match was Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin. And, I thought that match was pretty good. Baron Corbin, or, currently known as Happy Corbin, I think he's pretty underrated as a wrestler. And Drew McIntyre is, he's pretty good as a wrestler as well. So they put on a pretty good match. There were a lot of pretty good sequences in it, and just overall, that was a good match. The next match was, oh, what am I doing? Drew McIntyre won the match, of course, with the Claymore. So, and afterwards, he took a swing at Madcap Moss with the Claymore, like the physical Claymore, not his Claymore drop kick. And he cut 2 of the 3 ropes. I think he was supposed to get all 3 of those ropes, but he only got 2. But, it was still a pretty good effect. I think it was still pretty impactful and a good WrestleMania moment. The next match was Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio versus The Miz and Logan Paul. So, overall, that match was pretty good. Honestly, I was going into the match, I was a little concerned because I haven't really been too big of a fan of Dominic Mysterio's work. I think there's a bit of nepotism going on in there because technically he is the son of Rey Mysterio, who is, let's be honest, a future Hall of Famer. But, overall, I thought the match was pretty good. I think that Dominic Mysterio has really kind of, started to prove the doubters, such as myself, wrong, because he's really starting to come into his own. And I think that it won't be much longer before he will have surpassed the notoriety of his father, who is Rey Mysterio. In the end, The Miz and Logan Paul won the match, and I thought that was pretty good because I was not expecting that personally, since Logan Paul is technically a celebrity. Typically, you don't expect the team with the celebrity to win because celebrities are not trained professional wrestlers. But, Logan Paul and The Miz were able to pull it off. So that was pretty good. It was kind of a curveball, kept you on your toes. But after the match, The Miz gave a skull-crushing finale to Logan Paul. So I thought that was pretty good because it's showing that, The Miz is still, out for himself above all. And he values his own stardom over the stardom of others. The next match, I believe, was Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship. And I thought that match was pretty good. It started out pretty quick, and it was a real high energy. It was just a pretty good match overall. Bianca Belair ended up winning that match. I don't recall what her finisher move is. I will admit that I do not watch a lot of WWE recently. I've mostly been watching AEW and Impact as of late. But, Bianca Belair is pretty good. I have seen her matches before. I just have not, seen them regularly enough to remember what her moves are called. But it was pretty good. The next match was Seth Rollins versus a mystery opponent who turned out to be Cody Rhodes. And that was a pretty good shock because, Cody Rhodes, I don't know if you know this or not, but Cody Rhodes was one of the executive vice presidents in AEW, and he pretty much helped, start that company, which, in my opinion, is probably the biggest competition that WWE has seen since Juggalo Championship Wrestling started up in the late 90s. So to see Cody Rhodes come to WWE was a pretty big deal. So, right off the bat, this match seems pretty good because Cody Rhodes is in it, and I don't know if you know this or not, but Cody Rhodes was one of the executive vice presidents of All Elite Wrestling, which has been some pretty stiff competition for WWE. I would argue that it's probably the biggest competition that WWE has seen since Impact Wrestling started up. So there was a lot of back and forth on the match. I believe at one point Cody hit the pedigree, which is a move that Seth Rollins has been using as one of his signature moves. Not quite his finisher, but definitely as a signature move. In the end, Cody Rhodes won with a triple Cody cutter combination, which I thought was pretty good because it's just, you hit the finisher once and you think he's done. You hit the finisher twice and he's done. But, to hit a finisher a third time in a row, that is just like sign, seal, deliver, you're mine. So Cody Rhodes won that match, and I thought that was pretty good. Let me check my notes here. The next match was Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey for the Smackdown Women's Championship. And, I will admit that typically I am not a big fan of Ronda Rousey. I think that she does not keep the illusion of kayfabe very well, because she's, at one moment she's acting like this big tough woman, but as she's coming to the ring, she's all smiley and waving to the audience, and I don't think that's, you know, keeping up with how her character is supposed to be portrayed. But, you know, overall, I thought the match was pretty good. You know, Charlotte was able to get in some good offense, as was Ronda Rousey. At one point during the match, the cameras, the, 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 the feed went black at some times. I believe, I'm not sure about this, I haven't Googled it yet, but I believe that Charlotte Flair may have had a wardrobe malfunction, you guys. And I think that's pretty good. So in the end, Charlotte Flair won the match to retain the SmackDown Women's Championship. And, you know, similar to The Miz and Logan Paul winning their match, I thought that was pretty good because typically, you know, you would think that Ronda Rousey would win the match because she's Ronda Rousey, but, you know, having Charlotte retain the match kind of, you know, throws a curveball at you. So it's good to keep you on your toes, because if wrestling gets too predictable, you know, then what's the point in watching? Am I right? So you gotta throw a curveball sometimes, you guys. So finally, we had the Kevin Owens show with special guest Stone Cold Steve Austin. And during the interview process, Kevin Owens challenged Stone Cold Steve Austin to a no-hold-barred match. So I thought that was pretty good because, you know, I wasn't coming in expecting to see Stone Cold Steve Austin in a match, but we ended up getting to see Stone Cold Steve Austin in a match, and I don't think anyone would complain about that. So the match, it was pretty good. You know, it's obvious that Stone Cold Steve Austin is past his prime and he has a lot of health issues. He's always had issues with his neck and his knees, and in his, you know, retirement, I think he has developed issues with his back as well, but he was still able to put on a pretty good match with Kevin Owens. And I think that really speaks to just how, you know, how good of a wrestler Kevin Owens is. You know, if I had to rank Kevin Owens in top 10 wrestlers of WWE, I think I would put him at number 7. So he's pretty good, and he can put on a good match with even someone of the likes of Stone Cold Steve Austin, who, let's be honest, probably shouldn't be putting on no-hold-barred matches with anyone. But when you're talking about someone like Kevin Owens, who is such a professional in the ring, Kevin Owens can really protect Stone Cold Steve Austin and make sure that he doesn't further injure himself. Because I don't know if you know this or not, but Stone Cold Steve Austin has always had problems with his knees. And, you know, at one point, I believe he might have broken his neck due to a botched pile driver from Bret Hart. I'm not sure about that. I'm gonna have to bing that later just to confirm. But, you know, I know at least that he's had neck problems, and I think maybe he should, you know, go to the chiropractor or something to get that worked on. I don't know if he's tried that or not, but Stone Cold Steve Austin, if you are watching this video, I think you should go to the chiropractor to get some work done on your neck, and I think that might also in turn help your back problems as well. So Stone Cold Steve Austin won the match, which was pretty good because, you know, WrestleMania this year is in Dallas, Texas, where, you know, Stone Cold Steve Austin is also from Texas. So having Stone Cold Steve Austin win the match, you know, just due to the fact that it's Stone Cold Steve Austin, that's going to send the crowd home happy. And the fact that it's in Texas as well is going to also send them home happy. And if the crowd goes home happy tonight, they're more likely to come back the following night. So that's my review of WWE Wrestlemania 38 Night 1. I must say that, you know, I thought the show was pretty good. And I'm looking forward to watching Night 2 of WrestleMania, which is going to be tomorrow night. And I will hopefully have a review video out shortly thereafter. So that's it for now. So I'll talk to you all tomorrow.